Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to the one-take wonder of what are slumps, how do we fix them, why do they happen, and so on. Let's get right into it. Slumps. What are slumps? We're going to go to a calculator really quick and nerd out a little bit. So, not 0.3, let's do 0.7x. Okay, so this is you playing Counter-Strike, right? You're good, you're bad, you're in between. Now, the one thing that makes you is you're going to go up, you're going to play good, you might be coming back down, you might go up, you might come back down, and a slump is when you're here, when you are in this pit right here. And this is a lot frustrating for a lot of players, and it messes with a lot of players' head because they think they're bad, they're not playing good, and it causes them to change their settings, which makes them play worse, or it might temporarily fix them. We're going to talk about that. But this is what a slump is, when you're playing bad and you're in this rut right here. Now I'm going to launch the game and be right back. Okay, so now that we've talked about what a slump is, when you're playing bad or whatnot, now let's talk about why they happen. So imagine you're driving a car, right? Just like this one. And this example is only going to work for people who drive cars. If you don't drive cars, ask someone who does and you'll understand. When you're driving a car, you drive the same route to work every day. And that same route you drive over and over and over again, and your brain gets to memorize it. So that when you drive it enough, you don't think about driving the car, and then all of a sudden you're at your destination, you're like, how did that happen? Now the only difference is when something changes, like someone pulls in front of you, slams on the brake, all of a sudden you wake up, you're cognitive, and you think, oh my god, I gotta brake or whatever. Now how does this relate to CSGO? In CSGO, that car drive to work or that car drive to B, whatever, is when you grab the bomb and you run to B site. And you do the same thing 1,000 times. I've played deathmatch on this map for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. I've played thousands of competitive games in this map. Everything I've seen before. I have been standing here and fought a guy here, here, here. I've been standing outside doors. I've retaken the B-bomb site hundreds of times. I've thrown this flashbang hundreds of times. I've gone through double doors and I've checked these corners hundreds of times. And this is just like driving a car. You become methodical at it. You don't think. And this is where the problem of where people slump is. Because they're not thinking. They're in that state of mind where they're just asleep at the wheel pretty much, and you're just playing Counter-Strike because you're playing Counter-Strike. And this is where people get mad, they're not playing very well, and this is where they change their settings. So they go, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch reses, so I'm going to go ahead and play on 4-3. And they change the res, and all of a sudden, they're playing the game on a different resolution, and they start playing good. And they're like, oh my god, I'm doing good, I'm doing good. So they play 10, 20 minutes like this, and all of a sudden they start playing bad again. And this is just like driving a car. You've changed your resolution, someone in front of you has put on the brakes, and you've all of a sudden woken up and you're focusing on the game. Then as soon as you get used to it again, you realize it's the same game, and you fall back asleep at the wheel. It's the same thing as driving a car as playing Counter-Strike. So this is dangerous. This is what a slump is. This is how people make themselves worse and worse and worse and worse. The number one way people fix slumps is by changing settings. And just for a quick note, this is why also when people say they take breaks from Counter-Strike, they come back to the game and they're refreshed. This is because they haven't seen the game at all lately. So it's like they're driving the car and they actually have to think about driving the car. They're not just autopiloting it. This is why taking a break makes people feel differently about the game. So the number one way people try to fix themselves is by changing settings. They play good for 15 minutes and they go back to playing bad. Now this is bad. This is not what you want to do to fix yourself. When you do this, you actually make yourself worse because you're used to a resolution, you change it, you get mad, you change it back, you get mad, you change it back, you get mad. You're on a downward spiral of inconsistency. So this is your skill level here, you're just going to keep plummeting down. So the key to pushing past slumps and winning games, or improving your own gameplay in CSGO, is when you experience that slump, to either A, realize you're in the slump, start focusing on your gameplay and realize what's happening. I've fallen asleep at the wheel. I've done this 1,000 times. I need to start thinking about what I'm doing, going through my actions. And the key is to not change your settings. Every time you go through a slump and don't change your settings, your skill ceiling increases just a little bit every single time. And every time you successfully push past the slump, you do improve if you don't change your settings, if you don't mess around, if you don't get down on yourself too much. So that is what slumps are, how you fix them. As long as you're cognitive of that ability, you'll be fine. Thanks.